It started with missing packages. At first, I thought maybe it was just a mix-up with the delivery service maybe. The boxes were left at a neighbor's door or delayed a day or two. But then it kept happening. Week after week, little things. I ordered books, kitchen items, gifts for my niece just vanished. No knock, no note, nothing on the porch, just gone. And I wasn't the only one. A few neighbors quietly mentioned the same thing, but no one wanted to make a scene. After all, this was a quiet HOA community. People keep to themselves, smile politely, and follow the rules. At least most of them. Then there's her. The woman. Everyone in the neighborhood secretly calls the HOA Karen. She doesn't actually work for the HOA, but she acts like she runs the whole block. She patrols the sidewalk like it's her job, reports people for leaving trash bins out too long, and knocks on doors if your grass grows even an inch past the community standard. You know the type, but lately she seemed twitchier. Always peering over fences, hanging around mailboxes, and standing a little too long near porches, mine included. Still, I didn't want to assume the worst. That changed when I set up a simple motion camera. What I caught on footage wasn't just someone walking by, was her. Plain as day, bending down and lifting a small brown box from my welcome mat. No hesitation, like she was taking what she believed was hers. That same day, I got a knock. On my door, not from her, but from a serious-looking man in a navy blazer flashing a badge. U.S. Postal Inspector. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about a nosy neighbor. Something much bigger was happening, and someone was finally watching her too. The postal inspector's tone was calm but firm. He asked if I'd noticed any missing deliveries recently, and when I nodded, he handed me a small card with his name and badge number. He said they'd been tracking a pattern in the area packages reported, delivered, but never reaching the right hands. I told him about my camera and offered to show him the clip. He didn't look surprised when he saw her on my porch, casually picking up my box like it was part of her morning routine. Apparently, I wasn't the only one with footage. Several neighbors had started installing doorbell cameras, and a clear pattern was starting to form. It wasn't just random theft. The same woman kept showing up, walking the same route, always during the day, always calm. And the strange thing? Most of the items being taken weren't even that valuable. A gardening kit, a candle set, a child's backpack, little things, but taken consistently. The inspector didn't say much about the ongoing investigation, just that they were working closely with the Postal Service and local authorities. He asked me not to confront her directly. That part was hard. Every time I saw her sweeping her walkway like nothing was wrong, or stopping to chat with someone about their lawn decorations, I felt my blood boil, but I kept quiet, just like he said. I started paying closer attention to her movements. She had a routine: early morning walks, midday strolls around the cul-de-sac, sometimes doubling back in the evenings. Always watching, always pretending like she was just being neighborly. But now, I wondered how long she'd been doing this and why. And then, one evening, I noticed something strange. A car parked just across the street, engine running, windows slightly tinted. I'd never seen it before. And sitting inside? Was someone watching her, too? The car showed up again the next day. Same spot, different driver. This time it was a woman, plain clothes, sunglasses, hair tied back. She never got out, just stayed behind the wheel, glancing up from her phone. Every so often, it felt like something out of a movie. But this was my quiet street, where nothing exciting was supposed to happen. I started to wonder how deep this thing actually went. Was it just stolen packages, or something else? Meanwhile, the so-called HOA Karen was still making her rounds like she had no idea eyes were on her. She even came to my door that week, pretending to ask if I'd gotten a flyer about the neighborhood flower pot regulations. Her tone was sugary sweet, but I could tell she was trying to peek past me. like she was scanning for signs I might be onto her. I just smiled and said, no, I hadn't seen any flyer. And then watched her stroll off like nothing was off. That night, I talked with Sarah, a neighbor 2 houses down. She told me she'd once seen Karen opening someone's mailbox, but didn't think much of it at the time. She thought Karen had been asked to grab someone's mail while they were away. Oh, she wasn't so sure. Another neighbor, Rick, said a package full of diabetic supplies for his dad had vanished, and that he filed a police report, but nothing ever came of it. It was becoming clear this wasn't just about porch theft. It was about trust being slowly chipped away in a neighborhood that once felt safe. Then came the flyers. Bright yellow sheets tucked into every mailbox, warning residents about increased surveillance in the area and advising them to report anything unusual. The weird part? They weren't from the HOA. No logo, no contact info. Just a vague message. That's when I realized someone else was trying to send a message. And maybe not just to us. By the end of that week, the neighborhood felt different, quieter, like everyone was watching, but no one wanted to be seen. The unmarked cars rotated every other day. One afternoon, I spotted a man step out to stretch, but his eyes scanned every porch like he was taking mental notes. The flyers stopped just as suddenly as they started. No one knew who put them out, and the HOA denied any connection. Karen, meanwhile, carried on like nothing was wrong. She even hosted a small community beautification meeting on her lawn, sipping lemonade and smiling like she wasn't the center of a growing storm. What made it even weirder was how casual she seemed. Most people would have backed off if they knew law enforcement was sniffing around, but not her. In fact, she doubled down. She started knocking on more doors, asking questions about people's deliveries, claiming she was just trying to help stop the theft problem. She told Rick that maybe someone inside the neighborhood was behind it. Told Sarah that packages might be marked incorrectly. It was bold. It's almost like she was trying to shift the blame before things came to a head. Then, late one evening, I was reviewing the footage from my front cam, just part of my new nightly habit, when something strange caught my eye. Karen didn't just stop by my porch that afternoon. She paused, looked directly at the camera, and smiled. It wasn't friendly. It was like she knew. Like she wanted me to see her. A few houses down, I noticed the other camera lights blinking. Others were watching too. And then, just before the video cut out, a second figure stepped into frame. Someone standing behind Karen, out of her line of sight, but fully visible to mine. Not a neighbor, not a delivery driver, and definitely not part of her plan. I paused the footage and zoomed in. The figure behind Karen wasn't someone I recognized. Tall, wearing a hoodie despite the heat, and standing just far enough in the shadows to keep his face hidden. He didn't move. He just stood there, watching her. My heart was pounding. I rewound the clip and played it against a moment. Karen smirking into the lens, unaware of the person silently just feet behind her. It wasn't one of the undercover postal inspectors. I'd gotten used to their cars, their patterns. This was something else entirely. I sent the clip to Sarah and Rick. Within minutes, they both responded the same way. They had no idea who he was either. But then Rick called. His voice was low, nervous. He said he saw that same guy, maybe the same hoodie, same build, lurking by his backyard fence 2 nights ago. He thought it was just a teenager cutting through, but now he wasn't so sure. Sarah then chimed in and said her security light had been tripping almost every night around 3 a.m., always near her garage. Now it wasn't just about stolen packages. It felt like someone, or maybe more than one person, was using the distraction to move through our neighborhood unnoticed. And Karen, either she was completely unaware, or worse, she was somehow part of it. Maybe the package thefts were just a cover. Something bigger was unfolding behind the scenes. The next morning, I noticed something chilling. My security cam footage from the previous night had been wiped just that 1 hour. Gone, like someone knew exactly where to look and how to erase it without leaving a trace. I checked the device. No signs of damage, no power loss. Someone had gotten close, closer than I ever expected. And if they could do that, what else were they planning next? That night, I barely slept. Every creak in the house, every rustle outside felt louder than usual. Just after 2 a.m., I got an alert motion detected. This time, I didn't check the app. I went to the front window and peeked through the blinds. Karen was there. Again, but she wasn't alone. The man in the hoodie stood next to her, facing her, speaking low. I couldn't hear what was being said, but it didn't look friendly. She kept gesturing toward the street like she was warning him off. Then he handed her something, a small envelope, before quickly walking away down the sidewalk and vanishing behind the hedges. She stood there a moment longer, clutching the envelope, then looked straight at my window. Like she knew I was watching. The next morning, the postal inspector returned, this time with 2 uniformed officers. They had a search warrant. Someone had tipped them off anonymously. Within hours, Karen's front lawn was lined with evidence bags, and a small safe was carried out. Inside it, they found dozens of opened packages, fake mailing labels, and tracking slips. She had been stealing the items, relabeling some, and selling them online using multiple fake accounts. But that wasn't all. The real twist came later that day when the inspector pulled me aside. Turns out, Karen wasn't acting alone. The man in the hoodie, he was her nephew on parole, using her address to ship stolen goods he was reselling from other thefts across the city. The neighborhood package thefts were just a front. The real operation was much larger. Karen was taken into custody. But just as I thought it was over, I received one last delivery. No return address. Inside, the box, my original stolen gardening kit, and a note. Just 2 words, printed neatly in block letters, still watching. After the police left and the neighborhood finally calmed down, things slowly started to feel normal again. Or at least, quieter. Karen's house sat empty, the porch still covered in yellow tape and faded chalk marks. The HOA stayed unusually silent, probably trying to distance themselves from the whole mess. Most of us on the street started talking more, checking in with each other, even swapping phone numbers. In a strange way, the chaos brought us closer. The postal inspector followed up a week later. He confirmed that Karen and her nephew had been linked to a string of small thefts across multiple suburbs. It wasn't just our community it had been, growing for months. Thanks to the footage and neighborhood cooperation, they had enough to press full charges. The inspector thanked us for staying calm and doing things the right way. It wasn't dramatic, but it worked. As for the mysterious package, the one with the note saying, "Still watching," they couldn't trace it. No prints, no return label. And it didn't go through any official mail channel. It spooked me for a few days, but eventually I realized that was the point. Whether it was a final scare tactic or a leftover game from someone trying to stay in control, I refused to let it get to me. I kept the camera running and I stayed alert. But I didn't live in fear. The lesson was simple. Even in a neighborhood that feels safe, It only takes one person to shift the balance. But with a little awareness, a few good neighbors, and the right people paying attention, like a sharp-eyed postal inspector warder, can be restored. Trust doesn't come easy after something like that, but it can be rebuilt, one honest package at a time.